It's Miller time. The Badgers got a big-time commit for the 2025 class. We're going to talk about it, how he fits into the receiver room, and more in today's Locked On Badgers.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers. Thank you for making this one of your first listens every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers join today and you get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Started. Got Justin over there. I am over here. We're obviously going to fire the cannons and do it triumphantly. This is a good one.
Fire the recruiting cannons. Another one is headed to Madison on Wisconsin.
Let's set the stage, Justin. Banners on the bottom. Cameron Miller, 5'11", 165-pound receiver, also athlete, but receiver, commits to the Wisconsin Badgers out of Atco, New Jersey. About the highest composite three-star you can be. He is a composite three-star on.
He's a four-star. I don't care what anyone says. The film says he's a four-star.
Composite says he's a 3, Justin.
The Justin's take is not in there.
Other offers from Duke, Nebraska. This came down to Wisconsin, Kentucky mostly, but obviously Georgia kicked the tires here, Ohio State, Michigan, Texas A&M, a lot of Big Ten schools. He had over 20 offers. So a really good offer list. Committed to Wisconsin today, committed to this player brings you, I shouldn't say this player, Cam brings unique explosiveness and speed. We're going to get into it. But Justin, thoughts on Cameron Miller committing to the Badgers?
Yeah, this is one that I'd earmarked as a guy that I really liked. And I brought him up to you a long time ago. Nick Osen told me about him too, to kind of take a closer look at him, because I hadn't looked at the film early on. This kid, quite honestly, the first thing you notice when you turn on the film is he absolutely explodes. His first couple of gears are elite. He's a guy that will flat out, if you are not ready off the line, you're done, because he will have 3 steps on you like nothing. I know a lot of people are calling him mostly a slot. I think he's got more upside than that. And I think he's got more upside than that because I think that he's capable of being that tough to get a hold of off the line, because he does have that kind of explosiveness that if you miss your jam on him, you're done. Like he's going to have 2-3 steps on you and be wide open. And Wisconsin just hasn't had a guy like that. Like, I love Pauling. I love Tretch. They're different in the way that they're fast than this guy is. This guy's straight line explodes for the first 20 yards faster than probably anybody on our roster right now.
You know, I'm going to give you one. His explosion in the first 20 yards, in the first 10 yards, reminds me of Aaron Cruikshank. He's bigger, right? But it's that type of north-south explosion that's unique. There's a lot of fast players that are very reliant on, at the high school level, I'm going to out-agility you. I'm going to run 10 yards to the left, and I'm going to shake and bake. He is shot out of a cannon, north and south, and that's unique because that's something actually Kyle Shanahan talks a lot about. What is one of the distinguishing marks of the 49ers offense? It's yards after catch, right? And I was listening to Brandon Ayuk talk about it, and he said, when I got to the 49ers, Kyle Shanahan said, put your foot in the ground and go north-south. Stop making moves, go north-south. Cameron Miller goes north-south, and he gets – it's alarming how fast he is in that first 10 yards.
This is a guy that flat-out outruns angles. People make mistakes against him because they expect to be able to corral him. And like, there's one of them on his highlight film where you watch it and the safety has him, should easily be able to angle him. And you just hear, like, he goes off the screen and you're like, oh, he went by him. And I'm like, how did he get by him? Like, there was only like 2 yards between the safety and the sideline. Like, did he take that bad of an angle on this kid that he just flew past him that fast? Like, apparently didn't even get a hand on him. And I'm that is freakish.
He's very nuanced, right? It's very little wasted motion in his game. Again, going back to a lot of players, there's a lot of false steps because you're so athletic at that level. If you're a D1 guy, you can get away with it. He's very subtle. It's quick shift to the left or right and then explode past people. I think that translates absolutely. Some of it's like, it's like Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner type stuff. I mean, Coyote's there and Roadrunner's like, meep, and he's gone. And the thing I would say, I think he is probably a slot guy. I know we talked about this a little bit before the show. I'm not going to say for sure that's where he's forever going to be because he is slight, right?
I just think he has versatility.
when we talk about the frame and size, though, like he's not ever going to be.
He's going to have to grow. Like if he's going to get some reps on the outside, he's probably going to have to get to 185, and that's going to take some work. Yeah. Because I think I've seen him listed at 165. I've seen him at 170. If he can get to 185, and that may take a couple of years, then he's capable of doing some reps on the outside. Because not only that, and you and I talked about this before we came in a little bit. I don't know if his long speed matches up quite as well, but his short speed is definitely there. If he gets into a college strength and conditioning program, some of his long speed is going to join that. Going to start to be a guy who's probably a low 4.4 guy. And that's going to be a problem because if he gets the endurance to be able to maintain that, he's going to be a really hard guy to track down.
Yeah. The other thing I'd say is, to me, and it's a good point, right? Like he could certainly grow into being a more versatile weapon that you can use a lot of places. Longo's
he's not ready for it now by any means.
He's not ready for it now. But it also, in a way, it doesn't matter fully. Like he could also just be a super dynamic slot guy, and that is an incredibly important part of this offense. I would say what's one of the biggest things this staff has done. They've retooled the receiver room completely. Look at the receivers in this room compared to what they took over. Part of it is, I was thinking about this before because he was listed originally like as an athlete. Is he going to be a corner receiver? Like what this staff has done is they just added speed.
And then you look at his stats, and he's got 57 catches for 1,370 yards or whatever it was.
Right. He's a receiver. But my point is, like, they just added speed, right? Like this roster was this roster needed speed like a desert needs water. They added speed.
Going back, is there a receiver you remember that has this type of burst off the line? Because I don't know if I can think of anybody.
Well, it's Crookshank for me. He was a gadget guy, and he was 5'8".
Yeah, I guess I have a hard time looking at him as an actual receiver just because we didn't really see him in that role much.
I mean, he was technically a receiver.
He's like 5'7", like 135 pounds.
Yeah. But he was a gadget guy, right? Yeah. Like you say, he's 5'8", 5'7". But he had this burst, but Cameron has this burst in a 5'11" frame. Yeah. Like, so, right, it's not comparable, but that's the burst.
And he's a better athlete. Like, he's a more dynamic athlete. You could see it on the film.
I don't know if he's more dynamic than Crookshank.
I think there's some more body control type stuff with him that he's just a better. He's really good at tracking the ball. One of the things I'll say with him is he creates very easy separation very quickly. We talked about this with Tretch a little bit, and Tretch does it in a different way because Tretch's elusiveness and his ability to kind of get you to trip over your feet is what does it with him. This guy just separates. Like he flat out will, unless you have somebody with elite speed on him in the short range, if you put him in the slot, he's going to carve people up. I think there's going to be a lot of crossers and type of stuff with him where it's just like, I'm just going to run away from whoever you're going to try putting on me because there's nobody that you're going to have that's going to be capable of staying step for step with me going across the field.
Well, and it's so refreshing, Justin, to see where this receiver room is headed. I would say the same about the cornerback room. I mean, you think back 5 years, and this isn't to pick on anybody. This is not to pick scabs, but Jack Dunn was playing in the slot for us.
Well, we talked about it, you and I, for the longest time. The recruiting book was effectively for Wisconsin. Hey, where's the 6-foot wide receiver that weighs 180 pounds and runs like a mid 4.5?
Yeah. And
doesn't do anything particularly great. And that's basically been the Wisconsin wide receiver room for the longest time. This is a guy his quickness plays against anybody. This will play against Ohio State. Now, Ohio State has corners who will be able to get physical with him and probably make him uncomfortable and have good enough speed that he's not going to be able to run away from them, but he'll be able to get a step on guys because he's just got that type of quickness.
Yeah, he has unique burst. Good contact balance, too, for a guy his size. There's a couple plays where he's getting wrapped up and he keeps the legs churning, pops out of it. It's a really good athlete. And this is, again, just the evolution of the roster where they're injecting speed and athleticism on the edges that this team is desperately needed. All right, we got to take a quick break there. We got comments. I want to ask Justin where he thinks Miller slots in on the recent receiver recruits. So Conberry Johnson, Miller, Tretch, kind of where you would slot those three. And we're talking about a little bit on the 25 class as well. And a new basketball coaching hire. We're going to at least touch on the name. All that's coming up on today's Locked On Badgers. But first, a quick break for our friends of the show over at FanDuel. FanDuel remains the number one source for all your sports betting needs. Listen, it's fast, it's easy, it's simple. All things that are requirements in my life right now. Easiest way for parlays, futures, spreads, teasers. go ahead and put some money on. I mean, Justin's probably not going to do this, but maybe I'll throw a few bucks on Greg Gard and the Badgers.
It's not my fault that Wisconsin won't let me bet. Wisconsin
I don't think you put money on the Badgers next year anyway in the basketball side.
No, that's probably fair.
But if you were to, FanDuel.com/lockedon, a great way to do it. Futures, parlay, spreads, teasers. Obviously, NBA playoffs are going on right now. Justin and I's teams are both, whatever. Who cares?
Baseball. There it is.
Baseball. If you want to bet on some baseball, you can obviously do that over at FanDuel as well. It's all over there. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus, but bonus bucks if your first $5 bet wins. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Please do it responsibly, but spice up your sports weekends. All right, Justin, I'm going to kick it off to you with that question I led off with in the back one. You got Tretch, Miller, and Kyron Johnson. Where would you slot those? Are they in the same tier even, or are they all in different tiers?
You and I discussed this. I told you before we came on that my comp for him was Chris Olave. And that's what I think that he's more versatile than the other two. And that I do think that he has some ability because of that initial burst to play a little bit more on the outside. So because of his versatility, I would probably say that Miller offers a little bit more in terms of being able to be more value in terms of options. I like the other two guys. And if you had to tell me which two guys do I want in terms of being corralled in by three defenders and have to get loose, it's those two guys. Probably KBJ, by the way. Some of the stuff that he did in his high school film was just like, I don't know how he got out of there. This guy is not that. He's different. He's a guy who's going to stretch the field for us in certain ways. He's a guy that can go up the seam and flat out make a safety have to turn and run. Like there's going to be some things on the outside guys that they're going to have advantages because safeties are going to be put in a bind having to play catch up with this guy. You're not putting a 4-5, 4-6, 4-7 safety on him and just praying to God that they can stay with him because they're not going to. He's going to be open.
Yeah, this is one of the pieces, and this is something that the elite schools do, that they stack these pieces, right? So now you have the ability to stack Kion, Tretch, a bigger outside receiver. You can put some of these guys together. And what that does is you can use a guy like Cameron Miller to carry a safety, right, which opens up other things underneath because defenses are going to now have to adjust that vertical speed. They're going to have to game plan for that stuff. So this is a chess piece that helps in that sense. Where do you think he ends up from a ranking standpoint? Right now, again, he's a composite 3-star, high 3-star. I know you think he's higher than that. Where do you think he ends up, though?
I think he's going to be a fringe 4-star guy. It really will probably come down to whether or not he goes into the camp circuit because what can he do statistically to get higher than where he's? It's kind of like Tretch, where you watch the film and you're like, this is stupid. This guy's a 4-star, and yet his ranking's not going up, and you're like, this is moronic. Like it's so clear that Tretch was playing against the top teams in the country and dominating. And this kid's got similar type of ability where you're like, he's playing in New Jersey. This isn't him playing in Wyoming or North Dakota against nobodies. He's playing against some other dudes out there and making them look stupid. Like he's way too good for high school football. You could put him down at IMG and he would fit the part. He might even be a starter on that team. I legitimately think, and Tyler Strieber, Olave was the 12th pick in the draft. That's pretty high praise. I'm not saying that he's going to be that caliber of player. I'm saying that the skill set is similar to what Olave has, and that he's a thinner framed receiver who has very explosive ability off the line and has some flexibility in terms of being able to play in both the slot and on the outside without having to rely on physicality.
That is a Rajiv level comp there, Justin.
Yeah. Whenever I make a comp like that, it has more to do with physical tools than actual build, like what they've accomplished.
No, I got you there. And you're right. Like he's too good for high school football. Well, literally one of the notes as I was watching film, I wrote, he's too fast for New Jersey. Like it's a physical skill set that he has that he brings to the table. And I want to go to a point where this is up here. And Justin, you and I have already kind of talked about this. This is from, see if I can find it. Oh my goodness, I already lost it. But I'll find it later. But I want to talk about it so I don't just spend it scrolling. There was a question about, is he an outside or a slot guy? And there tends to be, again, I think he's probably more of a slot guy. Certainly his versatility, as you mentioned. But I want to focus more on slot. Even if he's a slot guy, like slot guys they're starters now. A slot guy in this offense is a starter. It's like when people say, well, I think a player's only a slot corner. That's not a knock anymore. Like that's a starting spot in college football. And it's an incredibly difficult and important spot to fill at times. So I won't let the value of it diminish the player if he is a slot receiver is my bigger point.
Yeah, my view on him is this. He's going to probably be one of our top 2 receivers. He's not coming off the field. Like, I think he's that caliber of player. And I love some of the other guys that are coming into that room, especially the slot guys. I think if this guy develops, it's going to be you're going to have to find a place to put him on the field because he's going to be a guy that the defense has to account for. The other guys, you can kind of keep them within the first 20 yards, like Tretch, Pauling, and some of the others. They're not guys that are going to potentially hurt you if you stay on top of them. Like, they're going to get their 10 yards or whatever, or 15. This is a guy that can flat out go past you if you get stupid. Like, you can't afford to make a mistake or he'll run by you. And I think that's where, like, he just has that ability to separate deep that some of the other guys don't. And that's why you're going to probably want him out there, because if you make a false step on him, he's going to have 3 yards of separation because that's just what he does. Like, it's so obvious. He needs so little time to get separation on his high school film that it's like, man, like, how is he he's only taken 4 steps. He's already a step and a half past the guy. How is this happening?
Yeah, I think there's a variety of ways you can use him too. Like, they throw a lot of smoke screens to him, receiver screens where he's really dangerous. They obviously use him on some of that post work, but just literal vertical seam routes too. He's really difficult to deal with at that level. And listen, that speed translates. Speed kills. Like, that's what Xavier Lucas literally sent me a text after his personal record in the 100 meters. He's like, yeah, speed kills. The cornerback in the 24 class. He's not wrong, right? Like, that's it. That's the elite teams have speed on the boundary, and we've added more of that. I want to ask you this, and I have a couple thoughts, and then I want to kick it back to you if there's any other thoughts you kind of have on the 25 class. But no, he's not a perfect prospect.
No.
Right? So what do you see? I'll give you one that I saw a couple times. I don't think it's not something I'm super worried about, but there are a couple times on the deeper throws where the ball gets into his body a little bit. You want to see him kind of hand snatch,
go after and attack it
a little bit more. Especially if at the college level, those windows are going to be tighter, right? He's going to have cornerbacks on,
and he's going to get that yelled at into his brain in the college game. The first time that gets swatted out, you're going to have Guyton coming over to him and saying, "Yeah,
nope. Yep." Anything else? I mean, we hit on the side.
Obviously, you wish he was a couple inches taller, and obviously, if he was coming in at 180, you'd be like, "All right, this guy's probably a 4.5 star." Like, he'd be a guy that was like a 92 or 93.
Oh yeah.
So literally that's all it's holding back. There's a reason, like, those offers are out there for Ohio State, Georgia, and everybody else. He's a guy they're probably keeping tabs on. I would put money on it that we're gonna earmark this guy. We're gonna make the offer. It's not committable, but we're gonna take a look and see how he progresses over the course of senior year. They may come sniffing around again yet. Like, that's something. This might be a kid we have to hold on to late in the cycle, because clearly they saw enough of him on film to come around already early. And I think there's enough ability there that if he explodes again and maybe goes on the camp circuit, that they're going to be like, wow, all right, we got some of these other guys didn't progress the way we wanted to, and this guy is just a stud. We're going after him.
Yep. And there were several guys in last year's cycle we had to kind of keep the quote unquote blue bloods away from, the running backs, Xavier Lucas, right? There was a lot of guys. And let's be honest, those programs can afford to play the wait and see game. You know, we can't for a guy like this. All right, we're going to take – actually, no, I'm going to kick it back to you. Any other just big picture thoughts quick on the 25 class? How either Cameron fits into this? Do we need another receiver or one super underrated guy?
It's interesting. We've got quite a few guys that they're going after yet. Vernon Allen. You have –
Who would actually really fit a need on this roster as that bigger body?
He's 6'3" guy. Like, we talked about him. I compared him to Bryson Green, just a bigger body and longer. He's not super sudden. He's probably not an absolute burner, but he's a guy who's strong and physical, and he has enough speed that he's going to be a guy that you're going to have to deal with. Like, he's just going to go up and body you downfield. He's going to win the 50-50 ball because he's going to be able to go up over most corners and just out physical them, because he's probably going to be a guy that can carry 210. And
he's 200 now. He's 197 now. So he's probably going to be 210, 215.
Yeah. And he's going to be a guy that corners are going to struggle with, because most corners are going to be max probably 195, maybe 190. 25 pounds is a lot of weight in difference. That's a problem when you bang into each other up in the air. Typically, the big guy is going to make you go flying.
Yeah, I like him a lot, actually. He's a really physical presence that would add into the room.
It'll be interesting for me to see how Davion Chandler is affected by this, because he's very similar in terms of skill set. I really like him too. He does some really interesting things with his twitch ability too. Similar build. Probably he might be a little bit bigger than what Miller is. But I'm curious if this changes things there. I don't know if it does or not. I personally think they should take 3 bodies. I think you have to get a big body, though. You got to get somebody that's 6'1" or bigger that can come in, and somebody who has some ability to just have some size on the perimeter.
Yep. And not like, I know you just got Griffin, but Griffin's here for 2 years max. You need somebody that you can put in the room, that you can grow with, that you can
marinade. Yep.
Agreed. Kyle Matry says, is he not listed as a 4-star in Rivals and On 3? I think he's a 4-star in Rivals. I'm not sure about On 3. Talking about
he's an 89 on 247. So he's a 1 below it, but
he's on the fringe.
Yeah.
I know in the composite ranking he's a 3-star. So
he should be a 4-star. This is stupid to me. I would probably have him a 91 if I was going to say. And I think he's probably going to go out and he's probably going to torch everybody at the camps that he goes to, and he's probably going to go out and absolutely annihilate New Jersey again. And we're going to be like, okay, whatever. He'll come into Wisconsin, and he's probably going to be a guy that flashes early, because I do think that, like I said, I would not be shocked if his initial 20 yards is probably on par with most of the top guys on the roster now, if not better than quite a few of them. So
yeah, when I was looking at prospects last year, we did a breakdown for every player, and I said, look at the offer list, look at the film, and look at the physical attributes, and then kind of rank off those 3. Right? This is a 4-star offer / interest list. Yeah. This is a 4-star film. When you just turn on the film and watch them, right? You don't need to be a scout to see how
it's stupid how fast he gets past people.
And then do the physical attributes. Those are 4-star physical attributes. So I think
those tunnel screens, the linebacker's just toast. He can't get over there fast enough to cut him off. He's just past them. Yeah, so you have the safety trying to make the move, and it's if he takes a bad angle, you're just done. And to be fair, we didn't have to see a ton of it on his film because he just outran the guys. But all he would have to do is make a cut in, and he would just be gone across the middle of the field against the safety, because they would probably have to take such an aggressive angle on him to try and cut him off that they're going to be in a bind either way.
But he didn't have to. Bro's playing on easy. Bro's not playing on Heisman in high school. He's playing on easy. He doesn't have to use the good move.
He really is.
It's too easy. He's got octane in the tank.
He's just been playing on varsity, going for 4,000 yards with his running back every year.
It's too easy for him. Roy Munson says, big, thick energy. I love it, Roy. Let's go. All right, we're going to take a quick break, come back, and we're just going to at least talk a little bit about the new coaching hire on the basketball assistant side. And just the name in the background, I'm going to do another show and get deeper in on it, and then we'll take some comments for sure. David Velasquez says, finally, Ryan is bringing a little sanity to the discussion. I'm not even sure what that was related to, but I like to thank you. Thank you, David. Thank you. All right, we're going to take a quick break for our friends of the show. Come back, talk a little bit of basketball, but mostly get your comments. This is a good day. Definitely a good day for the Badgers. All right. Coming back to Locked On Badgers. So most of this show is obviously football. I do want to mention, put it in the banner below, Lance Randall's been hired as an assistant coach for Greg Gard staff. That just happened. That fills the Dean Oliver spot. A little bit of background really quick on Randall. Over 400 career wins as a D2, D3 coach. Justin and I have talked about it a lot. Good coaches can come from everywhere. Mm-hmm. So I certainly wouldn't evaluate it just on that. Joins Wisconsin staff, recently head coach of St. Louis. That's a D2 school, St. Leo University, sorry. Originally from Wisconsin. So he's grew up, I think, in a town 6 miles from Greg Gard. So take from that what you will. Here's my initial. I will give everything a chance. I really will. And maybe he'll be great. I'm a little underwhelmed by this hire. It feels, initial impressions, and I heard somebody sent me a text and said this feels like the Al Johnson hire. I will say this: this is not that, because you're at least not asking him to come in and coach a different position that he's never coached. So I will at least say I don't think it's that, but it has shades of that type of hire where it's more of a connection, familiarity hire than a what do we really need for the program hire. I'm a little underwhelmed, Justin, a little bit.
Do I get to say this feels like you told me I can't hire my brother, so I'm just going to spit in your face and hire somebody else that I know?
Listen, this is your time. This is our time. You can say whatever you want.
That's what I'm going to say. Because honestly, what is the number one thing that this team needed to have brought in? Recruiting.
A salesman.
You needed somebody who was established at the Division I level as a recruiter. Now, I'm not saying you can't bring somebody in from a lower level that just has some ability there. That was not a strength in this situation, and that's a problem, because that is your biggest weakness overall with everything, is that we struggle to gain traction with early evals on kids, and then our other issue is being able to close. Well, how do you prevent your head coach struggling to close? You have an amazing primary recruiter that effectively closes them before you get to that point. And that's how you do it. And he's not that. So if that's not what his strength is, what exactly is he bringing to the roster that you don't have?
So I've been told, and I've had some conversations behind the scenes with, I've been told he's a good X's and O defensive guy. He certainly has a lot of experience as a coach. He's coached at a couple different levels. Having experience in being good as a coach from a tactical standpoint does matter. That's not a nothing. But I think the staff has some of that already. Greg Gard is a defensive coach. That's his backbone that he got from Bo Ryan. I don't think you need to double down on that and bring another defensive coach in. I think you need a recruiter. I think you need somebody. Listen, so I've said this before, Justin, and I've been pretty defensive of Greg Gard in the sense of I don't think he should be fired. But I'm going to keep it real with y'all. I don't think this is a great hire, and I don't think it helps the program in the spots where the program needs to be helped, because not every guy we lose is because we don't have enough money. There's battles where we could win, but for whatever reason, we're not closing.
Listen, there are going to be situations in this new environment where that connection matters, where 25 grand might not be enough to get somebody who really loves a coach that they're dealing with. And they're just like, all right, one's going to pay me $500K. He's going to pay me $525. I'll just take the 500. I love talking and dealing with this coach on a day-to-day basis. I'm going there, because after a while, money is irrelevant. You're not going to, unless the sums are astoundingly different, it's not going to be the thing that differentiates. Right. The issue that I have with this is that you need to have somebody on your staff. You need to have a little bit of everything. I'll actually push back when it comes to X's and O's. Our issue had nothing to do with X's and O's on defense last year. It was flat out guys just weren't being effective. They weren't doing what they were supposed to. And that's part of the problem. Now, I guess the biggest thing that I would have pushed back on, our pick and roll defense was horrendous. I would have gone under screens. We would have adjusted to that probably through the first quarter of the season if it was me, and I would have just said, we're going to have to deal with the fact that you may hit some long-range shots on us. But there's going to be games where they miss, and we're going to get a lot of rebounds off of this because they're not going to be able to get in the paint. And I'd much rather have them not be able to get in the paint and cause havoc than let them just run wild coming downhill because we can't stay in front of them.
I don't ever want to see pick and roll defense again. I'm permanently scarred. There should be a center for people of pick and roll violence where I can go and just sit down and never see it again. I would say this, Justin, there's a very good chance you hire, the name already is escaping me. Hold on one second. Lance Randall. Sorry. You hire Lance Randall. Our defense should be better next year just because it can't possibly be that bad again. There'll be some regression to the mean. So there's a very good chance he gets credit here when really it's just the defense.
Maybe the players fit slightly better, or we just finally pulled our head out of our butts.
And you don't have AJ. AJ Storr was not a great defender, so maybe the defense is just a little better. And
were his metrics that much worse than Hunter?
I don't know, man.
He was normally facing the right direction.
I don't know. I will say I'm still worried about our defense next year. Christian Gross does have a good point. Tyler Strieber said he should have got Doug Gottlieb. No. Christian Gross says, will you recruit Wisconsin at all? Listen, he is a Wisconsin guy. He has spent time recruiting Wisconsin. What have people consistently said? Let's be fair. They've consistently said Greg Gard needs to stop losing people from Wisconsin. It is at least an interesting point worth bringing up.
I've heard people
said, I don't think this guy solves it.
No. I think the bigger issue that I see is that Gard's if you want to see us start doing better in Wisconsin, we're going to have to play the AAU game. There's egos that you have to deal with, and it's part of the deal. Every other head coach in college basketball is dealing with it. You can play the moral high ground if you want to or whatever, or your own ego or pride about having to, cow down to somebody a little bit. It is what it is. Would you rather win or would you rather have your ego?
Got to play the AU game.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. I'm not saying
You're
that's
not
a good
coaching.
thing. You got to.
Huh?
You got to play the AU game. I agree with you.
If that's the top teams all do. Like, you think Kentucky's like, we're going to sit back. We're not going to play this way. We're going to go around the AAU coaches. No, they were going all in on it. It's dirty. It's ugly. Nobody likes it, but it is what it is. Like, that is the atmosphere of college basketball. It's one area where I would say that college football is a little bit better. Like, there's still people around kids in college football, but I feel like college basketball is a far dirtier game. Like, there's some really dirty dudes that are in that.
The AAU game slimy. Having coached AAU and not at a super high level, I don't want to, but it is a slimy game. There's great people involved in it. Don't get me wrong.
That is not to say that everyone is a problem, but
there are many that are not. I want to just finish quick. We're already at past 30 minutes, but this is a great one. Tyler Strieber has a great comment. Practice battles of Tretch, Paul, and KBG Miller versus Lucas A. Guard. I would add Harper into that and other guys. Snowden. That's going to be so much fun going forward. It's going to make everybody better. David Velasquez still need a 6'4" boundary guy. You need at least a big guy.
You're not finding a 6'4" guy. I'm going to tell you that right now. If there's a 6'4" guy that can play boundary,
he's going to LSU.
Yeah, he's going to LSU. He's going to Bama. He's going to Ohio State. You want to find a 6'2" guy. Like, you'll be fine with that as long as he's got some decent speed or is a really physical guy. Honestly, for us, it's a speed guy. Like, you'd like to see Burrows turn into that guy. Maybe he will still yet, but the clock is going to start ticking on him soon. He's going to have to, with all his physical tools, at some point it's going to be you need to put it together because you have advantages over some of the other guys that are around you.
Well, I think it's ticking now. I think that clock for Burrows is ticking right now.
Yeah.
Like, seriously.
Like, next year, he's got to be one of the dudes. So that means this year he's going to have to flash.
Because what is this staff doing? I mean, actions.
Oh, he'll get buried.
Yeah. Well, and actions will tell you what the staff is thinking, right? They may not say it, but what did they just? They just went out and got a 6'3" transfer to play. Like, the clock is ticking, and that's college football. All right, we're going to wrap it up there. Robert Sorensen says, hit that like button. Robert, you have always been my favorite listener. Like, when we started this show, and I thank you, my friend. All right, he is Justin. I am Ryan. Go check out Justin's work, as always, especially over at Buck Report JJ. He does great stuff there. Justin, we're on the same page here. This is a great get.
Yeah. Yeah, he's probably – I don't know if he probably actually is the top guy on the board for wide receiver for us. Hilton's a nice guy too, but I would probably take Miller number one for me.
I'd have to think about my rankings, but yeah, Miller is a plan A target top tier. Like,
they identified him early.
Yep. Same page. On Wisconsin, we will talk later.